Welcome, everyone. This is my very first ever new release spotlight commentary video. I'm going to try and do these. We'll see how well I can keep up with it, but I'm excited. I usually have a lot more to say about the new books released each week than just what's in the spotlight. So this is for the new release spotlight dated April 25th, 2023. And we're going to talk about 7 young adult, middle grade, and picture books today. But the actual new release spotlight features more than that. This is just the ones that I think are like extra special. So we're going to go ahead and get started with the criteria that I use for the new release spotlight. Okay, so just to start out, if you've never seen the new release spotlight, just kind of what it is. Back in May 2016, the books coming out that month were just really, really excellent. So I decided to do, just for that month, a spotlight of the best new titles for the month on my blog. And it actually did really, really well. People really loved it. And so I continued. Every Tuesday, I release a list of the new books that are coming out for young adults, middle grades, which is like grades 3 through 8, and picture books. I don't release every single title. There's usually around 100 or so new books coming out each week for kids. But what I do is I pick my favorite, like the ones that I would buy from my own library. So I pick my favorite ones to spotlight, and I do things about like the protagonist, who the protagonist is, the themes that are in the book, the genre, that sort of thing, how many star reviews it got. So this is something I've done every week since May of 2016, so quite a long time. Every Tuesday it releases. And I have specific criteria because there are so many books coming out. I have to give certain books preference over others. So I have a lot of different selection criteria that I have tweaked over the years. But my number one selection criteria for what is included on the new release spotlight is that the book, every single book on the spotlight must have 2 or more positive professional reviews on Tidal Wave. That is simply because there are many librarians out there that cannot make a purchase for their district without at least 2 positive professional reviews on Tidal Wave. So I'm not going to spotlight it and get you all excited about it only for your district to tell you you can't purchase it because it only has 1 review. So every title on there, you know that it has that. I also give preference to starred professional reviews. So if a book has 5 professional reviews and they're all positive, but another book only has 3 professional reviews, but 2 of them are starred, the book with the 2 starred professional reviews is going to make it over the other one. I also give preference to graphic novels because our students just love them. I give preference to characters who are diverse. International settings, I think, are really important for students to understand that like there's life outside the U.S. As someone who's lived outside the U.S. for several years, I personally think they're much more interesting anyway when they're set somewhere else. I look for timely topics and themes. And I actually do look for male protagonists. I feel like we have so many strong female protagonists in books, which is wonderful, but I feel like we have fewer male protagonists lately. So I do look for that. I do give preference to authors who are popular and also authors and illustrators who have previously won book awards like Caldecott, Prince, Newbery, whatever. I don't typically spotlight sequels, although at the bottom of my new release spotlight, if you go to my blog page for it, I do have images of the book covers for books that have sequels. But generally the spotlight, the main part, I don't do books that are number 2 in a series. And if I do, it's because it's gotten a lot of professional praise, or it's like just a really popular series. I might spotlight the second book, but I typically, like, I can't think of a time that I've ever spotlighted the 3rd book. Maybe Holly Black's Queen of Nothing. I might have done that one. But anyway, I don't do bedtime stories. We don't read those in the library typically as a read aloud. I don't do novelizations of movies or TV or video games. And I don't do books based on commercial characters. So those 2 categories, anything that is like Disney novelizations or TV shows like Stranger Things, those are already going to be popular on their own, and I just don't feel like they're the quality of literature that I'm looking for. Doesn't mean they're bad. They are usually very popular, but I'm not going to spotlight them. And then I also don't do serials, things like Marvel and DC Comics. That to me, that has its own niche, and I don't know enough about it, so I don't do serial comics typically. Okay, on to young adult. Let's talk about young adult. Okay, we're going to start first today with the young adult titles. I have 4 on the spotlight of the spotlight. The original new release spotlight for this week has, I think, 7 young adult titles. This was quite a good category this week compared to middle grades and picture books, which were much smaller. So, but there were several really good young adult titles this week. So we're going to start with Star Splitter by Matthew Kirby. I have not seen anything by Matthew Kirby in a little while, but I know he wrote The Clockwork 3 and Icefall, which were somewhat popular in my middle school several years ago. But I haven't seen anything from him for young adults or for middle graders recently. But this one looks really, really cool. It's science fiction and with adventure, mystery, and thriller, and it's set in 2199. What happens is this young lady wakes up. She knows that she was leaving Earth, and she has woken up 14 light years away from Earth on a desolate planet that is post-extinction. There's no one, nothing, no plant life, nothing on this planet. She wakes up in a lander, so she's inside, and there are machines all around her, but the power's off. It's quiet. None of the machines are running. Imagine how creepy that would be. To add to the creep, she looks around her. The walls are covered in bloody handprints. And when she looks outside onto this alien, desolate planet's surface, she sees freshly dug graves, and they have names on them of people she does not recognize the names. So this story, I know it sounds so good. This would be so good for students who really liked books like 172 Hours on the Moon or These Broken Stars. Maybe Starfall by Melissa Landers. This does alternate in timeline between before and after. So that's kind of a neat format. And then there's also a theme of what makes a person, which is really sounds very interesting. So this is recommended for grades 7 through 12, and it looks like a really good one for school libraries. The next one is That Selfsame Metal. If the title here sounds familiar to you, that's because it is a quote from Shakespeare's King Lear. So love that, except metal is not spelled the same way in King Lear. It's Mettle. So like a play on words there. This is the first book in the Forge and Fracture saga, and it is by a debut author, Brittany Williams. It's historical fiction, but it combines with fantasy and adventure, and it's set in Shakespearean London in 1605. The female in this, she is able to forge metal with her mind. So she has like a power. This is going to be really good for students who love Holly Black's Cruel Prince series, or maybe Justina Ireland's Dread Nation. So this is for grades 8 through 12. And when I say recommended for grades 8 through 12, that's what the professional reviewers, that's the range that they recommended. And this is starred by SLJ. The next one is going to be great for your students who loved Prairie Lotus by Lindsay Sue Park. This is you can tell from the cover, this is going to be a pioneer type of story where they are suffering hardships in the late 1800s. This is set in the Northwest Territories of Canada. It's historical fiction. And the young lady in this story is a member of the Latter-day Saints. And her father wants her, she's 17, but she's experiencing some pressure to be married. There are 2 different young men who are vying for her attentions, but what she really wants to do is own her own land. So she makes a deal with her father that she can buy this land, but it's going to cost her a lot. It's $480. It might as well be $10 million because she does not have that. So she's going to try and figure out how she can make the money for this land. This one is recommended for grades 7 through 12, and it is Publishers Weekly starred. And the last young adult book on my list for this week is Hungry Ghost by Victoria Ying. This is a graphic novel, but it's a serious graphic novel. Features a 16-year-old Chinese American young lady who has bulimia. It's the binge and purge eating disorder. She's also dealing with the death of her father and just a lot of problems with her family. She doesn't get along with her mom. There's fat phobia. This one's on NetGalley, and I just requested it and got it, so I haven't started it yet, but I'm excited to read it. I need to do it soon because it will expire. So this one is Kirkus starred and recommended for grades 9 through 12. Okay, next up we've got middle grades. This is a smaller category this week. I think it was a total of like 4 on the new release spotlight, and I've chosen 2 to extra spotlight. These are grades 3 through 8 as recommended by School Library Journal and Kirkus and the professional reviewers. Okay, our first middle grade title is Doodles from the Boogie Down. Such a cute title. This is a graphic novel that is based on the author's own experiences in going into high school. This is set in New York City in the early 2000s. This is one of the interesting things about this one is that it's recommended for grades 3 through 7 by 4 professional reviewers, but School Library Journal recommends grades 6 through 10. And I think the reason that they do that is because the narrator here is going into 9th grade, so she's just an older student than the grades 3 through 7. So, but if you're concerned about that, just have a look at it for yourself. It looks really nice and bright and colorful, and that always attracts a lot of students. This illustration style kind of reminds me of Kayla Miller's Camp series, so or Click series. Looks really cute. The next one, this one looks super neat too. This is Search for a Giant Squid, and I love this concept. This is a choose your own adventure type of concept, but it's nonfiction. So this is where you have students are going on a search for a giant squid. So they have to choose like their vessel to go into the ocean, and they have to choose what they're going to bring with them and all these things that they need on their trip. And then they make decisions throughout the story. It's nonfiction. So I really love this concept. This is also a graphic novel type of format. So students are going to definitely gravitate toward that anyway. Kind of reminds me a little bit of maybe like Meanwhile, if that's popular in your school. This is Booklist starred and recommended for grades 1 through 5. And then picture books this week are the kind of the least one, the most sad, I guess. Not sad, but picture books are just one title this week, and that is another nonfiction title, How the Sea Came to Be. This was set 4.5 million years ago, and it's about the evolution of life on Earth. So we have a lot of marine biology and ocean creatures. There's also geology connections with volcanoes and earthquakes and geological activity that shaped our Earth as we formed. So this also is a rhyming book. So if you are looking for something with rhyme scheme, you can use that. This is recommended for grades 1 through 5 and is Kirkus starred. Okay, so that is our spotlight of the spotlight this week. If you would like to see the entire new release spotlight, you can go to the link in the description and you can see the spotlight for April 25th, 2023, and also previous spotlights that go back about a year. There's also in each spotlight a downloadable, editable, and free Google Slides presentation of the spotlight. So, and it's the entire spotlight. So this is a screenshot of one from this week. These are great. You can edit it however you want to. So if there's books you don't want to spotlight, like your high school, and you don't want to put the picture books for the middle grades, you can just delete those out. You can also change up the wording. You can change the cover or whatever you want to do. They're fully editable, and it's great because you can scroll them on a screen or a monitor in the hallways or in the library and introduce your students to new books. They will ask for those. They'll see them and go, "Oh, I saw this great book in the presentation, and I would like for you to order it." So it's a great way to kind of gauge your students' interest before ordering. I also include instructions in the presentation to scroll on a timer, so you don't have to put it and just like stand there and flip it. So it's downloadable in Google Slides, and you can also from Google Slides download it as a PowerPoint if you want to do that. You can do that from Google. So thank you so much if you've made it this far. This was my very first video, and I'm sure it was quite rough around the edges, but I'm sure I will get better. I'm hoping to keep doing this. Next week's spotlight for May is usually quite a very large spotlight the first week of May. I glanced at it. It does look huge. So definitely want to stay tuned for that one because it's historically quite large. So thank you so much for listening. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you next week.